Peace, peace, peace. Yeah, no sound. I'm trying to share the show. Give me a minute. Well, so you can hop on the link in the back chat. Yeah, man, the link in the back chat. You can hop on, bro. Just sharing this shit real quick. What
Yo,
up?
peace.
Let me.
Yo, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. But man, yeah, let's have this build on these Moors, man.
All right, what you have in mind?
Shit, man, kind of like how we was discussing the other day, man, and now I kind of want to bring it to the forefront. Is the Moor of today have the same mentality as the Moor of late? You see what I'm saying?
Like as far as what?
Does the Moor of today have the same ambition as the Moor that took over the Iberian Peninsula? Are these the same Moors or are these different Moors? Are their agendas the same? Just want to start the discussion off like that.
Yeah, I think they different. Most of these Moors, bro, they be on that Noble Drew Ali type of shit. Them Moors, the historical Moors, them Moors ain't know nothing about dude. So they couldn't have been the same. They couldn't be the same. And then if you looking at it from a historical perspective, the Moors was from North Africa. So I mean, we wouldn't take it from there. How could they be them?
How you feel about it, T'Challa?
I mean, just on the surface level, because I'm not versed with the Moors in terms of in-depth history like that, but just off of the little bit of knowledge Sutek shared with me a while back, our last bill we had offline, and just these first few opening statements, is clear to see that we're dealing with a different mindset of people, at least to me.
Mm-hmm.
And not just to be a parrot, but obviously, like even you look at what we call the Igbo people in southern Nigeria. Are you telling me they're the same Igbo as, and there's various different Igbo people, of course, but as a whole, are those people the same Igbos when they first came about?
Right.
Is their Odinyani system there present when it first came about, and is it the same as what it transformed and morphed into nowadays? Depending on which Igbo you're talking about, I mean that's just how I look at it. So to answer your question, I think they're different as well.
Yeah, man, they gotta be, bro. I mean, these Moors talking about law and black is dead and all that shit, brother. The historical Moors didn't talk about none of that.
Okay, so now when people say, because I actually was watching some YouTube stuff, and it was a Filipino lady on here saying that we Moors, and she a descendant of the Moors as well, because they brought Islam into the Philippines. So what do y'all say to the Moor today that say we are Moors? And you even got the Filipino lady, putting stamp on it like, yeah, y'all Moors. I talk to black people every day. I don't necessarily say I don't start out the conversation by telling them who they are. They are Moor. You know what I'm saying? So what do y'all say to that? Are we Moors?
I would say, shit, you gotta first define what you mean by the word more, because from the presentation that I did, we know that more like it takes different meanings in different time periods and depending on different people. So, I mean, first we got to get that established, and then we can figure it out because that's a big part of it, bro. That definition of that term, it takes on many different meanings, many different time periods. So the most significant definition would be Muslims from North Africa. So if that's what we're using, I would say no. I would say you gotta prove to me. You gotta show me some ships, some transatlantic slave ships coming from North Africa and bringing Muslims over here. And then I'll say, okay, maybe we are Moors. And then still, that's an exonym. That's a term. The Moors didn't even call themselves Moors. That's a term from Europeans. So I mean, you got to factor that in too.
Yeah, I've noticed that you know the term Moor is more associated with what somebody called the group of people, not what the group of people called themselves per se.
Right.
And that name stuck and adapted, and they try to even find that name in Egypt. They try to find it as historically far back as they can to try to hold on to this title that, in my opinion, a European gave them. But and then they'll put a spin on it like, oh well, how did the European give us this name when we taught them? We taught them. They big on that. So, it's always the flip side to every coin. And, it's hard to win an argument with somebody who say they flag go back 50,000 years, 2,000 years, and it's no proof of that. It's no cave paintings of that Moorish flag. You can see flags in the Narmer Palette, so you can see that flag. Then why don't we see one from the Moors? If it go back, if it's that old, you know what I'm saying?
Wait, hold on. Don't gloss over that, brother Satep. What did you just tell me? Because I feel like people want to bang on Kemet, not to shift the discussion, but people want to bang on studying Kemet or studying this part of Africa. That's white racism, white supremacy right there, to be divisive and cliquish and tribal with your history and which part you're gonna study. I mean, we need all of this thing. Like I just said, I'm not versed in the Moors. You know what I mean? I'm not versed in a lot of things. I'm not as versed in Kemet as I'd like to be. I know about some things in general in terms of comparison with the rest of Africa. And I'm still a student of the glyphs. Like, I mean, well, beginner student, we all students. But it's just the point of we shouldn't be that like we should know this type of information, what you just said, that you could find flags on the normal palette. That should be
Yeah.
common knowledge
Well, I
enough
mean,
to the point where
I wouldn't say flag. It's like the banners that they hold up. You know what I'm saying? But in a sense, that's a flag. You know what I'm saying? Even though it's a banner, because back in the day they had the banners on the stick. But I mean,
right.
that's still like a crip with a rag in his back pocket. It's the same thing you representing. You feel me?
Right. We call it right. That's a flag. You flying your colors. You know
Exactly.
what I'm saying?
It's a different style.
So to bring it back to the discussion, the word I mean, like you said, the word more mean a different thing, but we know that we can say flag. We don't have to say flag on a normal palette, but that's what it is. You know, um, it wasn't always called water, but that's what we call it. Like, I mean, that's just you know what I mean? We should have certain common knowledge about things to know how old we can go back to find certain things in Africa and which parts of Africa have certain things before we start claiming things like, oh, we can go back. We always want to play the numbers game with how old our people are to prove our existence. Whatever title or banner or flag we want to fly under. You know what I'm saying? We got to go back 50,000, 100,000. And I personally haven't seen black people talk about those type of numbers a lot until we start talking about who we are as far as an identity.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Because when I first heard that about 5-6 years ago, I was like, wow, this flag's that damn old. You know what I'm saying? And then I couldn't find it though. I'm like, I like to dig deep. I dig deep. Like I get scientific with it. So if it's something that I want to figure out, I will figure it out, and I'll take my time. And I'm taking my time. I'm not finding no flag that's old. Like it's all hearsay. Now I will get on here and say I do, because I'm not on here to bash the Moors. I do agree with that. We should know law. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We should know law because you don't know the law in our case until you break it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all got a pass. I didn't know selling drugs was illegal. I mean, I was young. I was like 14. I didn't know that shit was illegal because I was just doing it. You don't know until somebody tell you or make you aware of it. And I feel like the Moors are saying we need to already be aware of these laws because we over here in this land. When you're on a foreign land, you need to know how to conduct yourself. Even when you go state to state, marijuana may be legal in California, but it's not in, I'll say, Wyoming. I don't know if it is, but that just seemed like they wouldn't, or Utah or something. So you got to know how to operate within the circumference that you in. So I will say that.
Yeah, because ignorance of the law is not gonna get you out of nothing.
Yeah, it's not an excuse. That's what they say. Ignorance is not an excuse.
My only thing is when they started saying, "Oh, because we Moors, then we could get out of this and out of that, and
Right.
show no ID and all that craziness." They getting people fucked up.
Yeah. I agree with that, man. I'm not even gonna try to attempt that. Like that's just like people saying it's legal to carry a firearm on your side. Yeah, it's legal if you white, but if you black and the police see you, you might get popped. Like just for having it. Like, okay, it was legal, but they gonna shoot first, ask questions later. You feel
Right.
me?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, some more.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I definitely feel like we should know law. So I definitely want to big the Moors up on that tip that, you know, your brother Satep ain't on here to beat you all the way up, but y'all definitely need to answer some questions.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
did.
they ain't the same though, to me at least. Because, like I said, man, them Moors that was over in Spain, Moorish Spain, they was mostly Arabs and Berbers. The black Africans was like at the lowest caste. They had them doing like either they were slaves or they had them doing like petty work. So I mean, why? I mean that goes to the point of Moors like, oh, black people rule Europe when referring to the Moors like, oh, they didn't. First of all, the Moors didn't even rule all of Europe or all of Spain. And
Right.
second of all, like the black people were the lowest caste. Like how were we ruled?
Mm-hmm. Now that much I will say, in terms of I don't get into claiming titles and I'm a West African scholar this or I'm a this scholar that and I'm a Kemet scholar here and I'm a I study animals. Like, come on, man. Like at this point, going forward, this is the reality to me. Is that just a Tep and Ross question? Um, and actually, side note, this is just a tangent. Like, don't you spell your name on here as Satep and Ray, technically?
Say what?
Don't Didn't I remember seeing your name being Satep and Ray with the
I just put
RE?
the tap on.
Oh, okay. Because I mean, it was a language thing I remembered about that in terms of the spelling, how far back
Oh,
it
okay, the
goes.
pronunciation.
Right,
Okay,
right, right.
something about that. So like, how you spell how you spell the word Ray? You can spell the word. It's the vowels, right? So you can spell it R-A-Y. You can spell it R-E-Y. You know. So when it comes to Satep and Ray and Satep and Ra, I pronounce it as Satep and Ra, but the vowel on there is an E. So some people would say Satep and Ray. It really don't matter to me. I don't care which one you say, but I say Satep and Ra. I just don't spell it that way because I'm different. But it's kind of like I don't know if y'all seen the post that Monica. Let me get it right. Monica posted. Her name is spelled the exact like her name is spelled Monika, but you could pronounce it Monica or you could pronounce it Monica because
Right.
the vowels. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That because my grandma's name was Monica. The only difference in the name was the C and the K. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying?
Right,
That, the C and the K don't change the Monica or Monica. You know, it don't change that how that MO is.
right,
So when it comes to vowels, man, and historical languages, it gets a little tricky because if we spell Monica's name out, you could say, and you don't pronounce it. You just show somebody and say, how you say this? Somebody might say Monica. Everybody call her Monica. That's what the post is about. She's like, my name is Monica. You feel me?
mm-hmm.
But people aren't around her every day. They just see her Facebook name. So they don't maybe not hear how she pronounced her name. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So that yeah, that's just something I was thinking about. But yeah, to what you were saying, I say Satep and Ra.
Okay, okay. Um, sure. I don't forget what I was saying. Oh, now I remember.
Man, bro.
No, because I definitely get off into the language thing. Like I got a whole nother bill on something that while you was talking that I thought about in terms of how words are pronounced and seen in different cultures. But to the point that I was saying at first, at this point we all different kind of people, and you got Africans that claim to be, the Igbos that claim to be Hebrew Israelite. You got Hebrew Israelites in the South, way in the Southern Africa. You got Catholic, what I'm saying? Marcus Garvey was a Catholic, and I consider him to be one of my definitely people I look up to in terms of, you know what I mean? Like he's Marcus Garvey. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like at this point, because time is steady going forward, you got black people claiming all these titles at this point. So all of it's true for those people. Because that's how they see that's the title that they claim it. 2,000 years from now, I think I say this a lot, will be debated if we lived or not. Our children's 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 children will debate if we even existed. And we don't put out works. And so we could be perceived as, oh, well, who was this? The Kofi Piesie Research Team. And don't let some other people come up and want to try to take the name and run off and do their own thing. No, that happened back in the day. People stealing people's titles.
That'll be crazy. Look up somebody at the Kofi Piesie Research Team. That should have been.
Yeah. Back in the like with pirates and that type of era, where they're going around and stuff will happen all the time, claiming to be these famous, whoever explorers. You know how that stuff go.
Mm-hmm.
And man,
Y'all hear me?
yeah,
Yeah.
was you trying to speak?
Nah, I thought it seemed like my computer froze up, but I guess it didn't. I couldn't hear nothing.
Hey, Vasa, why don't you try to say something? See if we can hear you clearly.
Can y'all hear me?
Mm-hmm.
I just hear choppy stuff when y'all speak. I can make it out, but it sounds distorted on the StreamYard. But
Y'all can
if I
still hear
turn the
me?
YouTube on, if I
Yeah, I
turn the
can hear you.
YouTube on, I can hear y'all just fine. I heard y'all talk about a lot, from flags to identity. I don't know where to jump in. Has anybody ever took the time to look at the Ramesh and the kites and all the stuff they was using kites for? Since y'all talked about flags.
You said kites?
Mm-hmm. Like flying kites.
Uh-uh.
No, I remember Brother Ujao talking about that. I remember Saber saying that, but I don't, I never got around to, digging deep and finding out what was to it.
Hold on. So they was flying
I thought it
kites
was
back then?
just I can't hear. Was you asking me something or was you just saying something in general?
I said they was flying kites back then.
Yeah. I believe they went as far as to say that they even tried to use kites to move stones. Um, using, the not technology, it would be technology of the day, but using extreme intelligence. If you think about it, to use what's the word I'm looking for? Um, aero technology, basically, and use wind currents and a kite and figure that out. I can see you lifting some stuff. I wouldn't go into heavy tons, but I can see that idea. We can look it up if y'all want to. That's why I was asking if anybody ever took the time to look into stuff like that. I got to thinking about that with the kites. I mean, not kites, when flags was mentioned. But just think about it. That's a way to send signals and all kind of other stuff too. You know what I mean? That would be equivalent to sending the text message or StreamYard back then if you really think about it. It's a way to give a signal to a distance extremely fast if they was messing with this stuff. And I don't go too far from the idea that humans are possible of doing these things. I just get curious about this type of stuff.
Yeah, I
Can we
don't know.
share screens on StreamYard?
Yeah,
If
yeah.
somebody can do it, uh, they got a ancient Egyptian technology article on Wikipedia, and I just found it. I'm on my computer looking it up, but I'm on my StreamYard on the computer.
Yeah, I ain't
If
heard
you
that.
go to the
Trying to
obelisk
cut it.
and pillars, it it says right here. It's unknown whether the ancient Egyptians had kites, but a team led by Miriam Clemens and Maury Caride raised a 5,900 pound, 15-foot obelisk into a vertical position with a kite, a system of pulleys, and a support frame. Marine Clemens developed the idea that the ancient Egyptians used kites for works. Ramps have been reported as being widely used in ancient Egypt. A ramp is incline plane. Then it just goes into what ramps are. Doesn't really give too much more mentioning of it on here. But I thought that was interesting. Might be something we can dig into. It didn't give as much as I thought it was. I'll see if I can find something else.
Yeah. Hey, and you know what? Back on the general topic of, who's claiming to be a Moor and what, that word wasn't even always the word and who gave who that word. Um, so I talk a lot about trying to become a polyglot, being versed in different languages. Um, and there's some that I've found interesting separately, separate influences. Like my interest in African languages is out of being a black man and love for African history and wanting to part of the identity conversation is to take back our identity and be able to learn an African tongue, several for me, to be able to communicate with a language that at least originates on the continent, whether it has borrowed or loaned words from, other modern languages or not. just being a language that isn't derived from Greek or Latin. You know what I'm saying? Because everything else is
Right.
in our conception of the world here in America. Um, but one of the things I found very interesting was when people make the error of taking a modern term and applying it to times of antiquity or even recent past, just applying it to an era that it doesn't really mean the same thing. Or they'll see a word in one language and think that it's the same thing when they hear it in another language.
Right.
Like that's very dangerous because you got certain, I mean, words are gonna, the vowels, and you go back to talk about pronunciation of the vowels, your vowels being pronounced a certain way. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Is for one, it's only so many different kind of sounds that the human body is going to be able to make as a whole. And two, certain sounds just sound the same in different languages is how they pronounce. And I found it interesting that certain words like that are um, like the Malinke language in Guinea, West Africa, cross comparing that with certain languages like in the Far East, like for instance, Japanese. Um, so the word nani in Japanese, Nani, and that's just one way you can spell it, but the word nani is what? But nani in Malinke is the number four. And you know, like seeing that stuff is it's kind of mind boggling because you're like, man, you got people that will read stuff, hear stuff, and try and they hear a word from another culture and try to debate, and they feel like they know what that word is because they seen it in their cultural conception, and they feel like that's what the word means across the board. So it just ties back into that point of what a word means today ain't the same even in 10 years, 15 years, 5 years, the way the world is now. Like words just change meaning and the emphasis on them.
Right?
Right.
Yeah, and that's just like to wrap it back around to the Moors. Like they try to find the word more in Kemet. You know, they try to take the consonant M-R and add their vowels into it and say it meant more. But the word does not. It's like, you know, like the brother T'Challa said, just because it means this in one language don't
Do
mean it's that in the other language. So
Yep. It becomes a linguistic argument then.
right, which a lot of the Moors ain't that versed in,
Right.
you know. They just playing what they call that microwaves. Look at who in.
But you know, and it's crazy because a lot of
do
people
y'all think
shy
we
away from that.
do y'all think we suffer from skipping steps as far as history lessons? Like, for example, you don't really have nationalism as an identity prior to the 18th, 19th, and most definitely the 20th century. And do y'all think that creates part of the problem in this discussion? If y'all understand what I'm trying to say in the historical context of people identifying themselves. Because people wasn't identifying themselves as American. Hell, the forefathers wasn't even identifying themselves as American. If you get where I'm going and you understand the time frames of that, but you begin to see these national identities start to begin pretty much after the American revolutions and the falls of Rome. You know where I'm going, and things of that nature. The Asiatics in China massively growing and expanding. You know, once they get all their stuff with the Mongols and all them territories uh, settled. So I think, you know, I think that's a big part of the problem as well, especially for the people, not to offend nobody at the bottom of the totem pole with making these political decisions that affect the populace. And if that's the case, yeah, we're gonna be in a scramble for coming up with national identities. across the board. We still struggling with that in itself as a collective whole. Because one thing they'll throw out, I don't know too much about this subject as far as Moorish history, but I do know one thing they'll love to say is black is not a nationality. What's that? I think somebody mentioned it saying, that just means dead. And now you got these wordplay games coming in, but it's not understanding that we're talking historical context to begin with. I didn't want to get too long winded around that, but I think that is a big part of the problem. Is we skip that very very important step in realizing that, yeah, 200 years ago people weren't identifying themselves these ways at all. Not even with the color game. We went through a lot of changes historically as human beings because of this madness. We can start going into the levels of the whys, but I don't want to get too far from the conversation of this identity thing.
I'll say this: in the black community, we wouldn't have never been talking about Moors as far as what we identify with, at least, if it wasn't for Noble Drew Ali. He brought all that. He brought all that forth. Because you notice when people talk about the Moors, most of them don't talk about them people that ran up in Spain. They just talking about them being Moors here in America for some way. I don't know how.
Right. That's my thing is so like when I first got introduced to the Moors, I'm looking at the ones that ruled Spain because them was the ones I got to introduced to first. Like when I heard the word Moor, I looked them up. I was introduced to the ones that ruled Spain or the Iberian Peninsula. I always like to correct myself, but I didn't know nothing about the Noble Jew Ali Moors until I started watching Sinetta, and then you see those characters on there. So I was like, oh damn! So that's why I started to question like, are these the same? Are these still the same Moors? Because I'm still struggling with it. Like, do they think those Moors? Are their agendas the same? Like, like, can y'all still hear me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, are their agendas the same? Because the first ones, like I said, the first ones I heard about was the ones over there, and it's like I don't think they are, but it's good that this, like I said, I did point out the good that we should know law and all that stuff, but and some of them pretty smart, some of them pretty sharp, and every little set, you're gonna have your pseudo guys, you're gonna have guys that's a little deep in there talking about Akashic records and all this and that. So
Yeah, man. I think all that shit tie in with Noble Drew Ali, like the law and the black is not a nationality, but all that once you look into Noble Drew Ali, all that shit makes sense. And uh, MBK did a video about the 1920s where people were pretending to be anything else but a black man from the South, and they would get better treatment. So
right.
like that all makes sense. It all tied back into Noble Drew Ali, black not being a nationality. He's not black. We Moors. I mean, all that shit tied back in.
Yeah, because I mean,
Yeah, you can see elements of that. You can see elements of that before the 1920s. I pull an article all the time from I can't remember the brother's name, but he wrote an article when Oklahoma was going through the process of becoming a state, when it's transitioning from Oklahoma Territory to Oklahoma State. And he wrote an article called The Race Question, and he highlighted that in the South you could offend no blacks faster than denying their Indian heritage, and that many of them try to identify as being Indian to escape the harsh treatment of their own race. So you see that you do see a long history of that as well. You can even see it in my own family. My mother's my mother grew up really thinking her grandfather was Indian, but he was black and passing and just pretending to be Indian. So I mean, you do see that, and I understand there's a long history of these things. And you see it across. Um, you see it for these political reasons, and that's why I brought up that national. Us as humans on a whole coming to identify these national identities, which tie in with your culture, with your religion, and even just your science and your military, and all those different elements start to become identified as this ordeal. And I think that's part of these inquiries that we're going to have to identify um, and keep a firm hand on, to where we don't become divisive towards our brothers and sisters who practice different cultures. And I mean that in the umbrella of being African. I'm really not trying to be Mr. Humanitarian, but our brothers and sisters who are set in their cultural ways, we do have to figure out a way to make those bridges and create that black power atmosphere that we all fantasize of. Because if others do it, why can't we? That's my philosophy towards that. If everybody else can see themselves as number one on the planet, you can too. You don't have to be middleman or second, third, fourth, and fifth. You can do the same thing and be a humanitarian about the way you do it. That's the beauty of being African. So I think all those things is possible, but it gets back into that question of nationality and political powers and who's going to be king of the mountain. And I think that's what everybody wants. And who doesn't want to attach their name to some kind of legacy? So when we start doing these things and we start really, really looking at the whys, I think that's where this team that we're building comes into such a beautiful thing. Because this isn't my conversation at all. But I love that y'all having it, because I'm going to sit back and learn from it eventually. I'm going to learn from y'all. I'm going to enjoy it.
All right, that's what's
I'll
up.
try it out.
Let's switch gears here for a second. I want to throw another question out there. How do y'all what do y'all feel about how do y'all feel about the feds, the Moors with the feds on? And when I say how do y'all feel about it, I'm saying like with the whole Moorish science behind it, saying 360 degrees of knowledge, the thing hanging off of it. I forget what it's called, but yeah, like how y'all feel about that? Like, is that something that gets you out of trouble? Because these Moors and stuff, they go to court and they say if the police see you with this on, they gonna know this and that. I'm pretty sure y'all heard of that. So how y'all feel about that?
If that's the case, then you should get the
Personally, I
same
always thought it
response.
was them same things some firemen were.
If that's the case, you should get the same response from telling them that you are more, and that's your nationality, quote unquote. So we done seen people killed that claim to be Moors, people thrown in jail, under the jail, claiming to be Moors. So I mean, I don't think that should make no difference. I don't think it make no difference at all. It don't even got nothing to do with Moors, but that came from. Well, yeah, actually, it did come from Fez. Actually, it did come from Fez, which is in North Africa. So yeah, let me not say that. I'm thinking about the word Bay. That's what I.
Okay, we can get into that. We can touch on that next. I want to see what everybody, because we could touch on everything for real. But how you feel about it, T'Challa?
I mean,
As far as rocking the feds and what that can do for you, and I want to how y'all feel about the science of it too, like the science of it. They say it means 360 degrees knowledge and all this and that.
you can use any article of clothing and attach it. You can have a system of bettering yourself in character cultivation, I'm all with it. As far as on that end, the science, the way you put together your thing and how you extract the knowledge and whatnot from the universe, how you come to understand it, because that's all we trying to do.
Right.
So I on the on that tip, I'm cool with that. But as far as it being able to get me not shot because of the color of my skin, you know what I'm saying? To the point where like I talk about this to y'all in the back chat and to people that really, you know what I'm saying, my family and whatnot, but I don't walk around talking about, oh, I could just, you know what I'm saying, I can go ahead and get down to business and you're gonna be catching these things and that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm finna beat you up and that's just gonna be all that's said to it. But I feel like the police a lot of times they're not gonna give you the chance to prove your manhood rocking a fez, rocking a baseball cap, rocking a fade, rocking locks. I done seen all of these people, like you said, up under the jail, up under the bus, literally thrown under the bus. Like you just you get kicked and beat up all in the street, all up under somebody SUV. Just you know what I'm saying? You is and it ain't got nothing to do with what you got on your head. In fact, because you got something on your head, that's gonna make them pop twice. Because they gonna say you had a weapon in there. I done seen it happen, yo. You know what I mean? I done walked in there with the Bobo Shanti head wrap under the roster leg. You done know Wagwan. You see me? But
Gonna make you more suspect.
yo, they'll tell you you walking up in the club trying to go into the wild hair, up here in the shot. Oh no, you can't wear that. Or, certain times and then other times you come back and okay, you cool. No, when it comes to the police, if they tell you to take it off, you got to take it off, or you get your a knee on the neck.
Right. Hey, you can't tell. You can't. You know what I'm saying? Like you can, and they supposed to know law. So yeah,
Right.
if they take that off, you taking that off. We don't want to hear
I mean,
you got immunity or none of that.
that's just where I'm at with it, honestly. Like I don't want nobody to be. If I was to walk out here with anything on my head and say I'm able to wear this anywhere I go and not get, yeah, you can pull that in corporate America in certain jobs that allow you to make your case and bring research. Like you got to bring some articles of like I think Walmart tried to get me to bring papers on gauging ears because I got my ears gauged and red hair because I had red tips on my locks. So they tried to ask me for some information um about that back when I was working for them. Like, oh well, if you're gonna dye your hair or whatever. I'm like, y'all hired me with this color hair. You can't tell me that I can't have this color hair. Something like that, sure. You know what I'm saying? You can argue something like that. But as far as any article of clothing on your head, like you couldn't wear that in the corporate, you know what I'm saying, environment.
Right.
You're gonna get looked at a certain way.
Right. You're right. You're definitely right about that.
You still gonna be a nigga at the end of the day. No
Right.
matter.
It ain't like you now I will say this. Like if you are from overseas and that's your customs and traditions and you got a nation behind you, like you got land that actually ties you to that, I believe you could pull it off. You know what I'm saying? Over here to where like, cause some of them Jewish guys, they wear them, what they call them yarmulkes on their head. They ain't got to take that off.
Yeah.
They ain't got to take that off.
Right. That's what I was saying. Like, especially depending on the job you got, they gonna tell you, oh well, especially if it's something well known, like a yarmulke, or even if you see someone who looks like, and I'm gonna say this way to be, completely respectful. If you look like you come from a certain area of the world and you have a turban or a fez on, you're going to be treated a certain way, either good or bad.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, like you said, they don't have to take it off when it's something well known to them.
Even like what they call them hajis, like when the females wear them, like the females they ain't got to take that off.
Right. Yeah, you can't ask them to take the hijab off. You
Yeah.
can't.
Because it's shit that's it's strong ties to that. The more, I mean, I ain't gonna say the Moors, but well, I'll say the Moor. We talking about the Moor. That Fez ain't got that type of power. You gotta take them off. But they act like it do though. This is my point I'm trying to make. You know, they act like that feds hold some type of weight over here in these states. I don't feel like it do. But yeah, we can switch over to the Bay discussion because I wanted to hear what you was gonna say about that, Sute.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they like to use that Bay as like a signifier that they are more. But Bay, that's a Turkish title. That's a title of Turkish government. And it's only I be seeing females with the title Bay too. Like it's a whole different title for females. Bay is male. So I don't be thinking they know what they talking about, man. They just be making stuff up.
I think the fez is originally a Turkish custom too, isn't it?
I don't know. Let me see. I was about to say that, but hold on. Let me see.
I mean, I'm asking. I'm not making any
I
statements or
think
claims.
Fez is started in Fez in Morocco.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me
I
be
might
sure.
be thinking of something different then. And I can just be flat out.
I ain't too familiar with the Bay thing.
Hold on.
I know a lot of people go by Bay, L Bay, and all that. I know what L.
So then I guess the discussion is, the different categories of Moors, because you got a lot of them that do go by the name Bay, and then you got a lot of them like the ones I would meet in person. They would always come up to me, trying to connect on some pharaoh jewelry I had on, one of the suits or something. But they never called themselves. They never went by the Bay last name. I didn't really start hearing about Bay until I got online, actually.
Yeah, man, that's the Turkish title for a chieftain, traditionally applied to the leaders or rulers of various sized areas in the Ottoman Empire. So like it ain't have nothing it didn't have nothing to do with Moors. The feminine equivalent was Begum. So like it's a whole different term for females. They still be using Bay. Like that lets you know people don't even take not research. Let's not even go that far. People don't even take the time to Google this stuff. Like it's crazy, bro. So yeah, Bay. I don't know. I don't know where they get that from. I don't know how they tied that in.
You know what I want to know? To come off of that.
Wasn't it like a deity name for Rapper's Bay?
I don't think so. So rappers Crystal.
That's leading into another statement, leading into my question, or a question rather. Like, okay, so what's the different? I want to know what languages, depending on what more we talking about, that we're gonna be dealing with. Like what? Like, because you just asked the question, the deity. Okay, is there a deity?
Oh yeah,
You
it
know what I'm
is.
saying? Okay, so what languages that maybe they have an argument. Maybe I'm not trying to straw man them.
That's that Turkish stuff though, ain't it? Sute, you looking it up?
Yeah. It's the you know what they tie back into?
What?
The Theosophical Society and old girl, what's her name?
Madame Blavatsky.
Yep.
Oh wow.
Oh man, hold on, let me put that shit
Now
up.
they say that's where Nova Ali got a lot of his information from.
Yep. That's a fact. Oh, so Rappers Bay. Hold on, let me show the screen. Regarded in the Theosophy as being a master of ancient wisdom, and in the ascended master teaching is considered to be an ascended master and a member of the Great White Brotherhood. God dang. He is regarded as the Chochan or Lord of the Fourth Ray. C.W. Leadbeater wrote that Henry Steele Olcott was given occult training by the Rapid Bay when his own master, Moya, was unavailable. A series of letters to Olcott, allegedly to be from Serapis, encouraged Olcott to support Blavatsky in the founding of the Theosophical Society, were published in a book, Letters from the Masters of the Wisdom. Yeah, bro, it said tie right into the Theosophical Society. Yeah. Wow. He was a member of the Great White Brotherhood. Oh, that's crazy. Oh, Satep fell off.
Yeah, I guess we both fell off. My bad.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it said dude was a member of the Great White Brotherhood.
Hmm.
That's crazy. I
So
never heard of
is
it.
this part of the conversation of wanting to be anything because you got the whole black as a, as a negative, black in European languages as a negative, definition, connotation, that all of it. It's all negative,
Right.
you know.
I think that's what it means. I don't know if they talking about white like European. I think they more talking about in a metaphorical sense, like you saying. But I'm not sure. But it would make sense though.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a metaphorical sense because it's saying not to be confused with white brotherhood, which is the racial group. Yep, go right back to Madame Blavatsky. That's crazy.
Hmm.
Tell me the difference between Moors and Mers. Moors are historical people. Mers is a made up people from a made up land. There's no such thing as Mers. The Mers are referring to the people from Mu, the land of Mu, which we know that's a mythical place. Uh, I hope that we know that it's a mythical place. So, I mean, if the place isn't real, then how are the people real? So, there's no Mers. That's fake. There were historical Moors, but my point is the historical Moors aren't people in North America that identifying as black today or African American. That's not us.
Hmm.
Trying to wait for the chef to come back. This conversation he wanted to.
It's just crazy the effects, you know what I mean, that it has psychologically, what we've been going through the past few thousand years.
hmm Yep. If we were like they talk like as if we identify as Moors, then all our troubles would disappear. Like That's what kind of fairy tale land are you living in? It don't matter if you identify as a Moor and I identify as West African, Western Central African, or African American, Black, whatever. It don't matter. They gonna all see us the same. First of all, we all are the same. We all brothers. We all brothers and sisters. We all come from a common origin. And they're gonna see that just the same. They're gonna see us all as niggas. It don't matter if you got a fez on top of your head, if I got a Yankee fitted, it don't matter. That's not gonna change our problems. I don't have a problem with the brothers claiming Moors. My only problem is when you're trying to force that narrative on the rest of us and present it as historical fact. That's my only problem. But I'm not tripping on people wanting to claim something different.
Yeah, your faith doesn't have to be my faith or your, because in essence, that's what it is. Your belief don't
Right.
have to be your, and that's a personal truth conversation. You can go ahead and believe anything you want to believe. It's cool, but that don't make your story somehow overwrites my history as an African and telling me that no, y'all was worshiping Yahweh or God in Africa too before, and I'm looking like no, that's just not the case. Um, people believe in the dead city of Atlantis. Like people really still literally believe in that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you've been playing too
Hey,
much Assassin's Creed, in my
don't,
opinion.
don't some of the Moors like they believe in like Atlantis, even the land of Mu or something like that?
Yep, they believe in all that pseudo shit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying,
More,
man.
Moo, Atlantis, lost civilizations. Like they be really. I am King Sosa said MERS is not made up, but Moo is. They're not the same thing. What explain what MERS are, and if you got something, I'll let you on, bro, so you can show it. But I disagree. Yeah, but you can prove me wrong though, and I ain't tripping on that.
You got it, bring it. We want it.
Yeah, you talking about identifying with Moors? That goes for any belief.
We ain't worried about any belief. We focus.
Yeah, I don't even understand what that means anyway. What that question she's asking.
More or less statement, but yeah.
And we gotta be understanding with the whole belief conversation. We use that term that goes back to that gets into linguistic anthropology, where you studying why people use certain words and the culture of those people that use certain words, like to interchange belief with actual science and knowledge and tried and tested proof. Like, no, I'm gonna take this e-way to get to work because I get to work 5, 10, 15 minutes faster. That's tried and proven.
Right.
That's not a belief of feeling like I feel like I'm gonna get to work faster on the e-way and you be sitting in traffic. We need to understand that too. If we having a discussion, if we having we're gonna be a little more formal or we're gonna kick it. Like if I say belief, that don't necessarily mean that my belief. I could be showing some facts.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Then had a couple fights over the years over that one.
You gonna have that. Definitely gonna have that. But yeah, my I'm driving to go to etymology. Oh, okay.
He said go to etymology. Etymology of MERS.
You probably talking
How?
about etymology. I don't know what.
How? When it's not a word.
So what about so what did you my phone had kept saying to talk about Serapis Bay.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Let me go back to it. It said he's regarded in theosophy as being a master of ancient wisdom,
Okay.
ascended master teachings. He's considered an ascended master, a member of the Great White Brotherhood. He is regarded as Lord of the Fourth Ray. And C.W. Laird Beetle wrote that Henry Steele Olcott was given occult training by Serapis Bey when his own master was unavailable. A series of letters to Olcott allegedly alleged to be from Serapis encouraging Olcott to support Blavatsky in founding the Theosophical Society were published in a book from letters from the Masters of Wisdom. So apparently, I guess apparently, gave Blavatsky advice from an astral projection or something, and told her to start the Theosophical Society. Oh,
Okay.
Damn.
migrated to Egypt. Hold on. It is thought that Serapis Bey was incarnated as a high priest in one of the temples of the sacred fire on Atlantis, who migrated to Egypt at the time of the destruction of Atlantis. Oh man. It is also believed that he was incarnated as the Egyptian pharaoh Amenhotep III, who constructed the pyramid of Luxor to the god Amun, and also as Leonidas, the king of Sparta. And bro was everybody who was killed in 480 BC defending the pass, whatever that is, against the invasion of Greece by Emperor Xerxes the First of Persia. According to yeah, man, dude was everybody, bro. Yeah, that's definitely a deity.
Hmm.
Man. That's deep, man.
Yeah, that's crazy. I am King Joseph. Yeah, I know the etymology of Mars. Moors is Mar or Mare. Moors and Mers aren't the same thing. Moors come from Mers come from the land of Mu. Let's type that in. Man. See what we get
What's
on
that?
Mu.
The chat?
Yeah, yeah. He was telling me that Mers.
I can't see the chat, man. I'm on my
You
phone.
should be able to see it on the side.
Oh, let me hop out.
Yeah, Moors and Mers aren't the same thing.
Okay. I see. Tamika was saying Africans believe. How is that better? Someone tell me the difference between Africans' belief system. Okay. So the issue of having a belief is not. I'm not one who thinks that an African belief is necessarily better than any other culture's belief because it's African. Um, the difference between a lot of African belief systems is how they practice, especially when you compare them to people who claim any culture or religion from another part of the world, way across the Atlantic Ocean, and say that they choose to practice Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, you know, dealing with the divinations of any African system that has divinations. There's so many to name. You name them. There's a huge difference between how we're able to practice culture here in America, for one, in the first place, because we have to come up with artificial ways to partake in a lot of things, like rituals and things. We can make our altars and we can do things like that, but we're not living the lifestyles of the exact said people of the culture of the religion or whatever we're claiming to believe in. Um, and so we have to practice things according to our work schedule. Like we can't just go around, practicing this culture being of any system without having to, adhere to the laws here in America. As far as on the continent, a lot of the differences happen between the way the deities are talked about from the perspective of the people on the continent, um, and with how they practice and show and pay homage to their deities and what a deity is in Africa. So those are topics that we definitely cover and have covered, and that I'm actually putting in volume 2. um, those are real good questions, because just because it's African, that don't mean you got to accept. There's a lot of things that's African that I don't agree with, but a lot of the differences, to get a little bit specific, is you know as far as how Christianity is given to Black people in America, where God is real and you got to just believe it. And anytime you speak up against that, I mean, I done been popped in the mouth too many times for speaking up against that, saying that I just don't believe that, or how could this be real? How could that be real? And so in Africa, the deity is the plant itself that you extract the medicine from, to rub on your cut or to put in your tea. It is the big mama who makes the tea with that leaf. So it becomes the big mama and the leaf. It's you when you get better. You know what I'm saying? So now you have partaken in that. That deity has shared some of its energy with you, which is true. It is a force outside yourself that's acting and that's able to do things that you can't do by yourself. Basic definition of a deity. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be a sentient being. And that's another major difference. Deities are not always sentient beings in Africa. There are multiplicity of things at once. And that was an excellent question.
Yeah, the philosophy of African culture is so much different than other cultures that I find. You have to really get into that mind state to be able to understand some of this stuff. It's so complex. But I've never been a person to say one religion is better than the next or one spiritual system is better than the next. I'm just a proponent of you going back and understanding at least the culture and the way of life of your ancestors. Like I don't know. I don't think none of us believe that you must follow the traditions of your ancestors, but I think we all agree it's a good thing, especially the cultural ways of life, because most African cultures promote character development, good character development. So I mean, you can never go wrong there.
What you think, Satep or Fasa?
Can y'all, can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Can y'all hear me?
yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, nah, I agree with Sutek, man. Like we ain't, cause I ain't one to beat up on somebody either. But when it comes to your belief system, or I'm not on here to tell you what to believe. Tell a Hebrew not to be a Hebrew. Not gonna tell a Moor not to be a Moor. But what I do want to, establish is what you teaching, right and exact. Like, don't tell me if I wear a fez and go to court, I'm gonna get my sentence gonna be lighter than the man that don't got one on. Don't tell me I can go somewhere and get a car and I don't gotta have a driver's license. I don't need an ID. Over here in America. Like, don't spread that misinformation out to the people. You feel me? That's what I'm. Now I am for knowing the law. You know what I'm saying? That's why it's contradicting. Like, tell me to know the law, but then you tell me uh, uh, I can have some paperwork to say I'm a national or whatever they say. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just It's contradicting to me when it comes to that. So they have their good, they have their bad, just like everything. I'm not against Hebrews. If you're a Hebrew, you're a Hebrew. And to put it out there, I know we talking about Moors, but I don't think nothing Nick Cannon said was wrong.
What you mean? About
To be honest
the
with you,
real Jews, or about white people being
as far
savages?
as huh?
About us being the real Jews. I know you.
I'm saying, like, I don't feel like what he said was wrong as far as him saying the black people is the real Jews, because if that's what you believe, you
Yeah,
know what
yeah.
I'm
It's your
saying,
opinion, you know what
he
I mean?
right next.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if he has that opinion, then I mean, how would that be anti-Semitic? He didn't disrespect him.
Well, I think he said something along the lines of them being connected with being a part of, you know, slavery and benefiting from that.
Oh, see, I didn't hear that.
I have to go back and actually watch, if I can, see if I can get the interview of what when he was speaking himself. But I think that was what it was behind, like, him talking about first of all, anytime you mention anything negative, you are labeled that. But people talk bad about African culture all day long and do bad and do wrong towards. And when I say African culture, not just on the continent, I'm talking about in the diaspora, how we're treated. Going back to that conversation, whether I got a fez on or not, like I'm treated a certain way, being black, um, and having melanin in my skin, like that's just how the world is. And I don't feel towards the conversation of religion and faith. I don't feel honestly we should be following religions that, this is my opinion, that were used by people who conquered us and were enslaving us at any point in history and or still are. Period. Depending on how you look at it. Some people say it's over with, some people say it's not, depending on who you talk to. But I
Right.
don't that's just the way I feel for me. Like as an individual, that's where I'm at. I don't follow anything that has to do with talking bad and putting Africa down as a whole as being labeled as less than people you need to go out and conquer if you have not converted by trade. Don't Pappers bull me, please. None of that. That's just how I feel psychologically, coming, being born in captivity. I don't feel that it's healthy for black people to do that. That's my opinion.
I agree. I agree. And when you practice a religion, essentially you are celebrating that culture from which it originated. Just like when people become Muslims, you see that they start dressing different, they start acting different, they start uh, their fashion is different. Like that's a part you're taking on Arab culture. So I
You
never,
right. You deifying those ancestors, Arab ancestors. Honestly, if you're not Arab, you are deifying Arab ancestors.
right. Facts.
which is something that as far as the difference between African religions, I'm not trying to cut you, Sutek, but that's something that I really don't see. Like, I don't see Igbos trying to. I'm talking about authentic, not ones claiming to be anything under Abrahamic umbrella. I'm talking about indigenous African cultures, Igbo, Malinke. You're gonna big up somebody else's ancestors over yours, in terms of yours aren't good enough to deify their own. No, I don't see that.
Don't make sense. Sean said he was kicking some pseudo judo. You boy, hey, this is a good question. There's so much, I guess, so many traditional African religions, so many ATRs. How do we choose one? Or how do we know which one to choose? Nika said. And then y'all want to stab at that?
That's the thing about it. You don't have to choose. You just are and you be. That's too much of a philosophical question for anybody to superimpose their will on another. The beauty of that, it was you said Mika asked, right? The beauty
Yeah,
to that is you get to study all these different philosophies and ways, and you get to make the best decision for yourself. And you should do that based off of moral decisions as we have these conversations and not do it over the superficial things that we've seen people do in the past that create so much chaos. An example, the color of your skin that led to the racism plight that we still fight today. It should be done off of what you really identify with, who you are, and how you want to express your way of living and enjoying the best gift you ever have, which is life. None of us are promised of this afterlife narrative. What we are, whether it's a blessing to you or you stuck in misfortunes, we all are blessed with experience here. And that experience is your greatest gift. And the fact that we can share experiences makes it even more compelling to study and want to know people's cultures and how they view the world. To me, that's the ultimate African way, is that seeking that the answers to those riddles right there. That's where that saying, wisdom is a flower found in someone else's garden comes from,
I
in
I
heart.
will.
So,
Oh, go ahead.
I don't know. I'll chime out. Go ahead.
I would say that in terms of what system to choose to study has a lot to do with if you want to follow a traditional system from the continent. I mean, a lot of us come away from Abrahamic beliefs and we have certain criteria that we hold on to or that we have. Like, when I first stepped away, I just wanted to see a black God. And then it got to the point where I didn't need to have a deity outside of myself. You know what I mean? That's just my path. So I would say, think about some of the things that you feel like you hanging on to that you still believe to be absolutely true. Um, like any aspect of a religion that you stepping away from, or that you just trying to get into, not even stepping away from. Say you still want to practice your faith, which is cool, but you want to know, just be informed. Okay, well, what are you interested in learning? What particular, you know, do a quick Google search and maybe pick something of a West African country, East African country, or any African country that you might have a little knowledge on, and maybe look up a religion in that place and see what their system is about. What do they do? Um, you know what I'm saying? That's how I started, just researching different African systems.
yeah. I'll say like the brother said, researching, seeing what fits for you, and if you can, the first step I would take is take that ancestry test. See what you go back to, what your ancestry goes back to, and try to see if that's something that you try to see if that's something that you could see or use in your everyday life. And if so, man, go with that. Go with the way of your literal ancestors, your immediate ancestors. If not, then I would say study the the systems from that region, from that area, and then choose what you think works best. Excuse me, works best for you. Anybody else? So tell you hear that question?
Yeah, man, y'all pretty much nailed it, man.
All right, let me see. See, take you know the
Y'all pretty
ancestors.
much nailed it because I mean, like, I'm not on here. I'm not gonna tell nobody what to do. I'm not gonna tell nobody nothing to pick. Just pick what calls you. Like he said, take the ancestry test. If you don't take the ancestry test, you know, figure
Yeah.
it out. I don't know. Ain't
Never,
nothing bad for real. It's just you got to be able to discern. You got to be able to, you know, what they say. Eat the meat and spit out the bones. I
right.
was looking for something slick to say, but yeah, man, you got to eat the meat, spit out the bones, because everything got bones in it. So you know, whatever's your calling, that's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah. Whatever, whatever works for you. Because some of these systems might be too much. Some of these systems you might not be able to do, or a lot of the rituals you might not be able to perform, whether it be a matter of time, whether it be a matter of environment. Maybe you don't have the things or items that they're using in their rituals in the environment that you live in. You know what I mean? So that's why I say pick the best thing that works for you. If you want to pick an African system, and a good thing to factor into that too is pick
I got the worst
something.
curse of all. I got the worst one. I'll never have 360 waves ever. No
You
brush
never had
ever. No do rag. No wave cap will ever cure that curse. I'm just joking, but I'm gonna chime back out. But I get what you mean. We do have to, and that's why I tried to frame it that way earlier to kind of clarify what I was saying. We have to be mindful of where we live and the experiences that all shape us as individuals. So you're gonna have to do a lot of this, not to get preachy or philosophical, but you're gonna have to search within you and find the things that you can identify with to make your experiences better. And I think that's the beauty of studying Africa, is you see so many good principles that can help us. More than any other place I've ever studied, I see so many good principles installed. Um, how would you say it? Throughout the landmass. I'm trying to find the correct term to say that, but throughout the entire landmass, you see these principles found within the people there. So you won't go wrong by studying anything. Is my philosophy towards it. Where we have the mishap once again is don't superimpose your will and your ideas on anybody else. It's okay to help mold them and try to teach and learn from, but don't ever try to control it. And I think this stuff will flow a lot better. I'll jump back out.
Yeah, a lot of people are picking E5 or Sheshe because it's a lot of people here that are following that tradition. So, you'll have a lot of people to congregate with. You'll have a lot of people that have this in common with you. So I feel like that's a big reason why a lot of people are choosing that. So I mean, you might have luck in that if that's what you're trying to do. I would like to see some different systems come here.
True.
So
Um,
we got something
to
we appreciate it, but I want to see something different come. Go ahead.
no, yeah, I'd like to see something else too. Um, because there's so much in the continent that we still don't know, that we don't even know. Like, certain of us are doing works in the community, putting out books, putting out, and we support and big up those teachers all the time. And it's stuff like that where bringing scholars over here that we wouldn't even know their names, or just even talking about and mentioning a scholar on doing a presentation, you know, it lets you know that there's so much out there that you're bound to find something that is going to work for you. Um, I wanted to speak to the comment Sister Tamika said that DNA only goes back so far, and that's true. It does. It only goes back. I mean, a lot of things we do, we know we hit a wall when we get into research. We're not able to date things as far back as we would like to, or whatever the case. Um, and that's a reality we got to understand. What we can take from that is that it goes back far enough and telling us about who we were prior to colonialism, and that's what I'm interested in. What is my identity as what we call an African on this planet prior to colonialism? What are those languages, customs and traditions, musical instruments, etc.? That's what I'm interested in because it's a whole nother world. That's what I'm interested in because it's a whole nother world.
Was you still talking to Chala?
Oh no, you can go
To
ahead,
feed
boss.
into that, can you imagine? Can you imagine if there was a collective body of work that showed what African people really knew about animals, like from breeding techniques to you get where I'm going,
Oh,
like a
I talk
real
about that all the
just
time,
in
bro.
depth. And that would be so dope for us to have and start exploring. At least I would like to jump into that department for a
What's
while.
that? What's that, Vasa?
You, I'm just a curious, I'm curious to just wonder how much stuff African people really knew towards animals in general. Just imagine what that massive body of work would look like if we had a collective history of understanding what they knew about animals, whether it's from farming, breeding, herding, using them from agriculture, the numerous things that human beings use them for, but just from an African perspective, from domestication up.
Yeah, that would be
I mean,
interesting.
that's where all our damn favorite animals are, anyways. If we're gonna keep it 100, I mean, don't nobody really care about dogs as much as you would care about a giraffe if you could have one, or elephant. Y'all know full well them pit bulls wouldn't be nothing if you could have lions and cheetahs and panthers, especially if you conquered that fear of having one. And who wouldn't want a monkey? You get what I mean? And you find all them animals in Africa, all your birds, that you would want to study and explore and have. So just imagine what they know because this information that has become Europeanized. They always like to say everything is the white man's. That information came from the world. It didn't come from them. We can't say that was the ice box and they had nothing there, but they got all this information. That don't make no sense. So when we start putting in these dots and start showing what we know, a lot of those things that we want to know, who we was prior to the triangle trade, will all fall into our lap that much easier because we can still see remnants of it. Not to, become a romantic, but I think it can change paradigms and worldviews if we just create that atmosphere. That's why I love the Kofi Piesie Research Team so much. Shameless plug. I'll go back to silence. I'll get back in my cage.
We'll have to throw in the pseudo too, because they did come up. They did having this what they do, having extensive knowledge of nature, but some of that stuff was pseudo too. So to not be a romanticist, we would have to put the good and the bad in it. Like how I did that presentation, how they put the chameleons on top of their head, and like they thought they can get rid of headaches and shit that way. And when they change
Yeah,
colors,
you
that
did
means
that
the
with the
humans is
reptile
strong.
presentation, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that one was lit.
Yeah, man. We have to put we have to put the bad in there too.
Right.
Hey, but go ahead, Satep.
Nah, I was just agreeing with
But
you.
to play devil's advocate,
Wait,
to
hold
play
on,
devil's
hold on,
advocate though,
Voss.
think of how dope that idea is. Okay, okay.
Voss, can you hear me? No, I
Yeah, go
just
ahead.
want to comment on that before you switch gears and throw another 5 or 6 conversations in there. Um, because I want to speak to your point of you were talking about what the body of work would look like with all of the animals and the extensive knowledge that you know what I mean the people have living in those places. Well, a lot of it is documented. For instance, with I'm gonna give you something recent we can talk about, like the Adinkra symbols in amongst the Akan. So they're studying their culture and their language, how they move, how their everyday activities, what's sold on the packaging of their stuff at the marketplace, what type of design and print labels. See, they don't have a bunch of, you know what I'm saying, blonde hair, blue eyed, whitewashed images all the time. So they might have, they'll have their own stuff in their country, their own Adinkra symbols. That means something tied to an animal. That means something that it represents a certain characteristic of that animal. And so it is documented in a lot of cases, but it's not documented in a straightforward way from a Western mind to be able to pick up a book and say, I want to learn about how much the Akan know about crocodiles, where you can study some of their Dinkra symbols and find their symbols for crocodiles. They have a symbol for one crocodile and they have a symbol for multiple crocodiles. Studying the nature of crocodiles, and they talk about tribalism not being something that you should practice. It should be avoided in the village. You know, other proverbs and teachings from that talk about certain other characteristics of crocodiles. And that comes from digging deep into studying African culture and different systems. You learn how much Africans know about the world itself and how much of the foundation that really was laid when you get into these details. That was it.
Right on. If people read between the lines, I seen Sutek plug the book. The reason why I was throwing those Sagna cows out, if that's how you pronounce it properly, the reason why I was throwing them out in the time frames I did and try to connect it back to the Americas was deeper than just plugging in Brother Satep's human zoo chapter. I wanted to also say that it's possible that maybe we can follow migrational patterns of interaction by following these particular herds as well and seeing those things and seeing it hidden in the culture and creating those economic systems in their own worldview. That's why I did that. So I'm curious towards this. So yeah, I agree with you, T'Challa. I really do think it's out there, and I think it would be an amazing book. I think it would change a lot of the way we see the world in general across the world because it would be so beautiful to finally highlight that intelligence that's been suppressed for so long in a real time manner that people would really be able to relate to and use. Because what's more natural than the natural world? So I'll try and back out. I'm getting comfortable in my cage.
Back in your page, boss.
I was just about to ask.
Do what now? I heard my name, but it was choppy. Was somebody asking me something?
What type of cake you eat?
Oh, it's iron. It's got some water. Not that much. I can see light every once in a while if I turn my neck real good up. No, I'm just sitting at this desk.
Oh, I thought you said you was
Just
eating
sitting
cake.
at this desk. Man, I wish StreamYard gave me the same kind of reception that I got from the Zoom. Because every time I'm on StreamYard, it's just always choppy. I'm trying to listen. So it's good. It's been good sometimes, and it gets choppy at moments. So
Yeah,
forgive me if I don't hear y'all or interject myself at wrong times.
I might try the Zoom next time. The stream, it'd be so much easier though.
Yeah, I like StreamYard, man. It's easy to navigate.
Yeah.
So I was telling Kofi, I'm like, shit, you might as well use this. I mean, it look a little funny, but it's easy to navigate.
Yeah. Couple of clicks, and you on. Shit, that shit easy.
Right.
Are y'all on phones or computers? Maybe that makes a difference. Are y'all on y'all's phone or y'all's computer at the
I'm on
moment?
my laptop.
I'm on my phone though.
Yeah, maybe I should do that. Maybe I should. Um, well, you in Chicago. I'm in little ass Ada in Oklahoma.
Hey, don't do that, Joe.
We got
May
1G. We
Maywood.
got 1G here. I can't go as far as say we got 5Gs.
Yeah.
Hey, we not that much better than you. Maywood cut our water off yesterday and didn't say nothing while they was doing some maintenance work.
Oh yeah. Well, I
You know
mean,
what I
we gonna
mean?
find
Like
greatness
we.
wherever we at. Yeah. My brother from Chicago, so I haven't been, but I get a window to the culture and what's going on through them. And I got a lot of other family members up there too.
Man, I've been
I
when
want to go,
when I was a
but
kid.
from the way people talk about that wind, I don't know. I damn sure ain't coming nowhere near y'all's winters ever,
Yeah,
ever, ever. I ain't scared of the snow, but if the wind is really like that, I'm not messing with it.
what the summers be looking like up there?
Man, it's warm and it fluctuates between being rainy, almost like a spring season, in between being straight up hot and miserable.
I
The
missed
a-
it.
the air quality ain't that good. Speaking from as an asthmatic, but I mean it'd be you know well pre-pandemic. I mean you can always find something to do. I mean it's popping. So
Oh, big city.
yeah, it's
I
a lot to
came
do
up
here.
there as a kid, and I went to. I think it was supposed to be a Jordan restaurant or something.
Hmm.
Yeah, I barely remember. And I think we went to a museum. I don't know which one. I need to come back.
Man, I want to go to that museum up there, the Oriental Institute.
Yeah, I do too. I don't know if
Yes,
it's that one or not, but I went to one of them museums. I definitely want to go to the Oriental Institute.
Man,
I met a couple of brothers from the sesh up there
yeah, I
one
remember
year.
we met, I think it was what the Antoine and Chris.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, that was nice.
Yeah. Only good things.
Hey, T'Challa,
What's up?
have you ever studied Chicago during, or up until the history of the time frame up into the World Fair when they had that first World Fair that time frame. What is that? The 1890s, 1920s, and the living conditions that Chicago was like then before the electricity came.
No, I
Do they
haven't.
talk about that much up there?
I haven't specific. No, they're not gonna. Anybody going back to what you said, 18 between 1890s to in 1920, that era. Um, they not really talking about history like that. Unless you're dealing with some people that's uh, who really deal with history.
Yeah, I like time frames. I don't understand why people don't talk about H. Holmes up there in Chicago and all the sick stuff he was doing. That's what I was gonna go into. If y'all know about him, they want to say he was America's first real serial killer, copycat, and what they call him, Jack the Ripper in England.
Jack Tripper.
He was insinuating people in his hotel, had secret walls and all kind of stuff. He was taking people and burning their bodies.
I never
Yeah,
heard.
Jack the Ripper was off the chain.
Yeah, his name was H. Holmes. Holmes. That's how you spell it, Holmes.
Like Sherlock Holmes.
Dude was crazy. But and Chicago was wild at the time. I mean, before the electricity and when, before everybody had cars and you had all that production and so many people and the living conditions they got into and them slaughter markets and all those things. What's that one book? The Jungle. I don't know if that's based in Chicago, but I can kind of envision those time frames and just imagine how it was there. Was curious towards.
So
I
what
just
dude?
like history like that. I like to see the different time frames. I like to know why we think what we think. That's why I like history. And then I think about stuff that other people don't think about. Like I'm happy none of us had to invent couches, roofs, all the stuff that we get to enjoy in life. The fact that we didn't have to figure out what plants to eat, what animals not to eat,
You
and
know, I think about that too, man.
so
Also, I'll be like
that's
somebody
so
had to
dope.
die first for somebody not to eat that. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody had to jump off the cliff.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, somebody had to jump off the cliff. And some of the stuff I think I just because it's
And I
some
think
real
it's
hot
safe to
pepper.
say, thank the ancestors for the first one that rolled one up. I think we all enjoy that privilege, just to get some giggles in the conversation.
Even
But
like the
whoever thought of it,
psychedelic
shouts
mushrooms,
out to
like
them.
you got the psychedelic mushrooms. You got the I think it's called Hawaka
Hmm.
or some shit like that in Brazil, where you do
Oh, ayahuasca.
yeah ayahuasca. You got that. Like it's all types of stuff, man. Like it's natural though. Natural.
Yeah.
Have you seen one of them where they be licking
Yup.
that toad?
Where they drink what?
Where they lick that toad, they get high.
Ooh, I ain't seen that one.
You
Yeah,
said
man.
they lick a toad and they get high.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, I need two of them.
Man, that's crazy. I ain't seen that one. But there's all types of stuff out there in that rainforest, man. In that jungle, man. A lot of natural remedies and stuff.
Hmm.
That's another
When
show.
I was in Japan, more people did shrooms than they did smoking, and this was the black people. They took it for what do you call it? Aphrodisiac purposes. Did I say
Yeah.
that right? Yeah,
Aphrodisiac.
that was their thing to do.
You do it?
Nah, I didn't do it.
Yeah, you did, man. It took you too long. It was a long pause.
Never popped
Yeah,
no
I got it
shrooms. Only thing I've
right.
ever done,
Last
only
one I
thing
wanted
I've
to
ever
know.
done is smoke and drink. Outside of that, I've been too scared. I grew up watching my grandma blast off, and that behind all the
I ain't never
walls
been around no
in the
shrooms,
closet, so I didn't see that.
exotic stuff
So
like that.
I know that that addictive personality gene is too close in the family for me to ever flirt with. So I ain't never did anything outside but blow one or have a drink here and there.
Yeah, I never was around the psychedelic drugs. You know, like I was more Europeans. They had that drug. You know what drugs was in the inner black community.
Yeah, that's why
So
it bugs me out to see everybody in these new drug cultures, because that's how I grew up, was watching it, but watching it in separate realms. Like white people did this and blacks did this. It
yeah, they
wasn't
going to get a bag of shrooms. We going to get a
oh
bag of life.
Yeah.
yeah,
But ain't nothing wrong with that though, man. You know
drug
that's the
culture has
experience.
most definitely changed.
And I think they legalized it in one state. They legalized them shrooms in one state. I can't remember which state it was though.
Yeah, man. I was just watching the.
And y'all know
I
what's
was just,
crazy is they got an African plant that they using to curb all the opioid addiction.
yeah, it's
What's the name
psychedelics
of
over
it?
there too, man. I forget what that tree is. It's a little plant, but they got some type of plant over there in Africa, man. That's like a psychedelic. You can't even have it over here in the states.
You talking about them trees they make that DMT.
Yeah, man. It's crazy, man.
I dropped that one about them frogs in the back chat.
All
Oh,
right, bet.
Yeah, man, that shit crazy. They get high. They get super high.
off the frog.
I ain't doing it. I can't mess with it.
That frog look ugly. I ain't looking at frog. That frog look ugly.
It's the
Mm.
iboga plant. It
Okay.
says it grows in West Africa,
Yeah, that's it.
Gabon, the Dominican Republic, Congo, and the Republic of Congo.
Yep.
And you make ibogaine with it, and that's what they use in the curb the opioid addiction. For anybody that likes to study plants and science in that demeanor.
Got any botanists out there?
Want
Good
to
with
throw one positive plant out, while we joking about the other ones. So what's up, man? Let's get some more of this more beat up or more knowledge.
So, where you want to take it, Vasa?
Do y'all think the do you think the media do you think Hollywood has an effect on it? Because didn't they make Morgan Freeman more in Robin Hood with Kevin
Yeah.
Costner?
I mean, you can go earlier than that. I
If y'all
mean,
get where I'm going.
can you hear me? You could go even earlier than
Yeah,
that. I mean, Shakespeare wrote Othello.
yep.
Who was that about? A Moor. You
yeah,
know, that's early. That's early Hollywood.
yeah.
Then they call the Black Knight
Yeah,
with
the
Mark.
Black Knight, Martin
Yeah,
Lawrence. Yeah. So they know, man. They know just as much as we know. That's why I said, man, about Nick Cannon, man. Like the people that were saying anti-Semitic, like, nah, that ain't what he was saying. Like, but they don't want it to be known. So it's like, you know, Hollywood know because they making the fucking movies, man. They making the movies that we see. They know
yep.
a lot of the stuff a lot of the stuff you get from, watching stuff. Not only reading it, but you're gonna watch some stuff too. So Hollywood definitely know.
You know what gets me about Hollywood?
What's that?
You can make a movie like Gods of Egypt,
Oh man.
right? So you're gonna make a movie like Gods of Egypt, and then like I was talking about how your children's children that so far down the line will debate if you existed and what you was talking about or what you wasn't talking about, what your thoughts were. Say in the future, because the only people who are going to investigate to see who were the gods of Egypt, and if they're the only people that care about that kind of stuff. You get people that show their children this stuff and watch movies, and they be like, "Oh, well, that was a cool movie and this and that," and did they really believe in this? And they talking about it as if these people are represented by the actors of being, indigenous people of the times.
Right.
That's just, you know what I'm saying? Like you purposely putting your narrative on everything, which is
Well,
why. Well, go ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead and finish up. Numbers come behind.
I was just gonna say, which is why I don't like how people like they get down on the movie Black Panther for saying there was a horribly represented movie for Africa and this and that and the other, and they got all of these things against it. But you're okay with a movie like Gods of Egypt. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what we say. You better find something to do, because it ain't even it's pointless to have a conversation with
Find something to do. But
you.
but nah, I was gonna say that's when it comes to us. We gotta put the right information out there, and we gotta continue to put the right information out there, and that's what we doing. You know what I'm saying? We got publications, on deck. So it's like they gonna try to do their whitewashing, but we gotta continue to push forward and make sure we tell our kids the right story. Fuck what they kids think. We tell ours the right story, and then ours gonna jump the sign come in. So yeah, it's up to us, man. We own it though. Everybody doing their job. It's all
I believe in American pop culture, I think J.P. Morgan and all them are big components to
I
you
got some
seeing the
background noise going on.
Egyptology push when they started building their collections and building their little private museums and all that. It had an effect on the populace as well. You start seeing them really start getting interested in Egyptian culture. I'm talking specifically the United States.
Hey, Vasa, you got your YouTube on in the
How it's
background?
affecting pop culture.
I think he's listening
Yeah, my
to it.
bad. I have to do that.
That's why it's a
Well,
delay.
yeah, my bad, y'all. I had to do that so I can hear y'all because it's still choppy through my string yard. Yeah, my bad. I forgot to
Th-
hit the
th-
mute. My bad.
That's why you come in
But
late on
yeah,
the
that's what I wanted
conversation
to
too,
say. You see that?
Yep.
because you when you start talking, like
Hmm.
you come in and we have already said what we said, and then you come in, so it's kind of like we're trying to catch you up, or like you hear it, it's a delay, and so you just
Yeah,
come in. You know what I mean?
because it's so hard. I mean, I hear it through the stream yard. That's all I hear every time I chime in through the stream yard. So my bad,
Wow,
y'all.
that's
But that's how
cool.
it sounds to me. It's real choppy. So my bad.
Yeah, you gotta get on your computer, man.
Yeah, I'm thinking so.
Can't get on the cell phone
My
because I was having trouble earlier in the show. I kept popping in, popping out because I couldn't hear either. I had my YouTube on, but I ended up getting my computer back on.
Yeah, man. They do be whitewashing, bro. They be doing that hard.
Yeah, they gonna do it. They gonna do it. That's their job to do it.
I
You
remember.
gotta
I remember. They was trying to hire. Who was that? Julia Roberts to play Harriet Tubman.
I ain't hear that.
Yeah,
Man, they trying to whitewash history that close?
yeah, that bad, bro. One of
Damn.
the producers tried to make a suggestion, like they should hire her to play Harriet Tubman. Like
He
what?
should have been fired on the spot.
Man, he should have been fired on the spot. That's
Like, what?
disrespectful.
What you just say? Man, give me your badge. You shouldn't
Oh,
do
go
that.
ahead and clock out. Man, go ahead and
But
clock
you
out.
you know what is that disrespectful because they did it. Look at who they was portraying.
Now
And
they
it,
did it. I can see them doing it in Egypt though, because the reason why I say that because that was long. I mean, long. I can't stress enough. Long time ago. But to
Yeah,
do Harriet Tubman, nigga, that was just right around the corner.
right.
Come on,
no,
man.
I hear you, but what I'm saying is for somebody like me, the way I think, ain't no statute of limitations on my ancestors, period.
Definitely ain't.
You see what I'm saying? Like, no, I hear you. Like, it's definitely a different conversation when you're talking about Harriet Tubman versus
Right.
depicting Heru. Obviously, like,
Right. Like if you playing
of
Cleopatra
course.
or you playing Nefertari, and we know how black she is. And I seen some earlier where they was playing. Well, I think it was Nefertiti. It was Ramesses' wife, and it was a white woman, and the dude was like a little old ass Arab looking man. I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go. I was liking the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they do. But then they won't let nobody, like, if the shoe was on the other foot, boy, they is not going. They
Man, let me
not
tell
going.
y'all something, man. Let me drop this on y'all real quick. Man, they was mad that Captain America gave old buddy the shield, bruh. They wanted, but I don't know if y'all watch Marvel, right? Y'all watch Marvel?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I know you do, T'Challa. I'm talking about Sutek and Vasa.
I ain't been on it lately, man. I'm starting to catch up, though.
Man, listen. At the end of that, and T'Challa, you know what I'm talking about. When Captain America was old and he gave what you call it his shield, black dude,
Mm-hmm.
bro, they didn't like
The
that.
Falcon. Yep.
They gave he gave Falcon the shield, said he the new Iron Man, bro. They did not like that. Motherfuckers at work was talking about it like on some subtle shit, but they was just like, they're like he's not there. I'm like, well, shit, who cares? Like, it's all fictional anyway. They get that
They
over,
don't even know the
hold on, let me
history.
finish. They get that upset over fictional shit. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? They get that upset over fictional shit is the point I'm trying to drive home. And they do our shit, and our shit is real. Like our shit is legit. Like it's legit black people. Y'all whitewash it and don't got shit to say about that. But when we do, or we don't even know who the writer is that did that. But they get mad over the fictional shit. Go ahead, bro.
No, yeah, I didn't know you was trying to drop a philosophical note on us. Like,
I'm coming hard, man.
thinking about that, like just oh well, we can just go ahead and do whatever we want to do. But when it comes, like you said, oh, we know who Nefertiti and Nefertari, what they look like in terms of we know their skin color. Here it is, you watching the movie, and what do you see? You know what I'm saying? Like, it is gonna come out over portraying something that a real, movies are movies, but they're depicting people or characters of. You want to play somebody that's why Ice Cube's son, did how good he did in the movie. That's why they picked him for Straight Outta Compton. Like, duh, like who else? You know what I'm saying? You want to pick a character that fits the model.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just find it crazy that they don't even know the history, even on their fictional stuff. Like there was a black Captain America. You know what I'm saying? He had the same like red and white, blue get up. Like there was a black Captain America. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't as strong or as fast as the Captain America that we know, but he was that was getting into the comics and the lore. People that get upset about that stuff, you getting upset over one branch of like the MCU universe versus the comic storyline between all of the history of all Captain Americas. You'd have to do that. And it's no different than debating. We doing the same thing when we debate faiths and Moses versus this person versus Jesus versus Heru versus you know what I'm saying? We cross and bring in African stuff into there, which is a no-no for one. And then two, we debating fictional characters on the other end that are fictional. You know what I'm saying? and what they did and who walked on water and this and that. It's no different than comparing comic book characters trying to talk about, well, who should be holding the shield or who. It's just crazy to me.
Well,
Yeah, I like how you tied that in.
you ain't gonna never see one of us play Abraham Lincoln. I'll tell you that.
You know they try to say he black though. The conspiracy
Yeah.
theorists. Yeah, I know y'all seen that, man. It's all types of crazy stuff out there in the world.
That's what more say.
Right. What about these black presidents, man? Like, what y'all feel about that?
What black president?
When it's something about it was like black presidents over here in the States.
I mean, I know they be saying that it was one, but yeah, not that I know of. Besides the one we just got, the closest.
You got to claim that there was 5 United States. One that can be proven as a president, though, is one of the first presidents of Mexico. But the United States, I think they gave 5. Give me just a minute to check, and I'll get those names.
Yeah, you heard of us?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Give me just a minute.
Yeah, man. I don't know, man.
I ain't heard about no black president before Obama.
It's a lot of information over here in the States. To where I don't know. I mean, I remember hearing about it a long time ago. I think early college days, actually, when we was doing all that little Illuminati conspiracy stuff. Yeah, I ain't really looked into it too much after that. I started looking at more factual stuff, like shit I could go see, like Kim and stuff like that.
Y'all still on that?
Yeah.
It was J.A. Rogers, the 5 Negro presidents.
There it is.
He put Thomas Jefferson, Andrew Jackson.
He said Andrew Jackson was one?
Abraham Lincoln. And
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
Warren G. Harding. So Alexander Hamilton. Yeah.
Bill Clinton.
Them all slave.
No, not Bill Clinton. That's all of them. But I think it's more or less you have to look at the racial construct of the time to where you would be considered black. You know how the Spanish had what do you call it, caste system? So if you was an octoroon, if you was mixed, if you had the one drop rule applied to them more than it applies to us. And most people don't really comprehend that it was a shame towards them more than the shame towards us is how it was being ran. And I think he tried to wiggle that in to say that they had African ancestry, thus making them black.
Also, they was using the one drop rule.
Yeah, if you want to use it that way, I think that's what the argument overall is, that if you're going to take anything from it, I think that's what you should take away from it. Not necessarily that they was specifically Negro presidents and we've been tricked. That's what I would take from the conversation.
It makes more sense.
For example, that's like saying, Thomas Jefferson's great grandmother or grandmother was a black woman, and that was the result of him being his specific line is the result of somebody raping her, and it was, covered up type of ordeal.
Yeah.
Just to give you a kind of scenario of that.
The scenario would be like most of us have white ancestry somewhere down the line. That's just like saying,
Right.
Yeah.
I put that book in the chat, 5 Negro Presidents.
Cool.
Yeah, let me see.
Yeah, it's a little shorty.
Yeah,
Hey, y'all see
yeah.
God Body Sean News comment? So are Moors bravers, Berbers, I think he meant to say.
That's what I was. Yeah, go ahead.
What's
Oh,
crazy is in this book on page
and
7.
Africans mixed, because I thought Tariq ibn Zaid was a Berber.
Yeah, he
You want to
was
go ahead on that?
a Berber, but Moors, it just meant different things at different times to different people. Like at a certain time period to a certain set of Europeans, it meant Berbers and Arabs.
Nah, I can't hear nothing.
To a certain set of Europeans in another time period, it meant Muslims from North Africa. Like, I mean, it really just depends. That's a tricky word.
Y'all there?
Yeah, we hear you. Can you hear us?
Yo, you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you just don't hear me.
You can't hear Sutek?
No.
He can't hear you. He can hear you.
I can hear you.
Yeah, I heard the Moors. I heard the Moors was Berbers prior to moving to East Africa, I guess. Cause don't they claim to be like Asiatic too? Don't they?
You know, these Moors over here.
Not sure.
Oh, yeah, not the older Moors.
Yeah, these claim Asiatic, but that just go back to not want to be black from the South, not want to be descendant of slaves.
Y'all peeped the illustration I sent y'all in the chat from the book, from that J.A. Rogers book.
Hey, Sutek, they said we ain't. Yeah, I seen it. In there. There's like we ain't even from East Africa where you think you got us from. We from all the way over in Asiatic country.
It went all the way out.
Yeah, we from all the way west. Like we we can't be slaves. And that's crazy. I ain't never think about that. My Asiatic black man.
What event made us
Not-
contact?
But see, these Moors over here though, they claim to be from here already, and this they land. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
some
then
of
that's what makes it confusing.
them
Because
different
so
type of.
where's the different Moors acknowledging each other and talking about each other then in history from over here and on the continent? We got documented history of us being on the continent. How come we don't have, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Hey y'all, it was Vincent Guerrero was the first Negro president in the Western Hemisphere. If y'all want that fact, now that's
Hemisphere or in
Western Hemisphere. Western Hemisphere. So
okay.
the Americas. And if I'm not mistaken, his grandfather, if I'm not mistaken, is Gaspar Younger. And he had
And I
that
can't hear nothing.
big Cimarron
Okay,
revolt.
you can hear me still, can't you?
Can y'all
Yeah,
hear
but
me?
I think somebody, is that Vasa?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bob talking right now.
You might have to go on and come back
Hey,
in.
we don't hear nothing you said, bro.
I hear Vasa.
You can't
I
hear
hear
me?
Well, I don't hear nothing he said.
You might have to jump out and jump back in.
because I hear you, boss.
Oh, okay. Can the audience hear me? Well, it was Vincent Guerrero. He was the president of Mexico. Now, he's going to be of mixed descent, but there's no denying his African heritage. And if I'm not mistaken, his grandfather is Gaspar Younger. I can look that up. And Gaspar Younger, what makes him important is that might be one of your first free settlements for blacks due to his works as leading slave revolters.
Yeah.
Like we got another question in here.
You say, what event made us come in contact with the Amazon, or basically the Berber people, barbarous slave trade? Well, we was, Berbers stayed in the desert, and we was always in contact because we just stayed right up under the desert. So yeah, trade is a big reason of why we always came into contact with these Berber people, and then they, there's some of them start moving down south. So yeah,
Shit, we
it was
tired
trade.
of them move. They're nomadic, right?
Yep, the Berbers are. Yep, yep, for the most part. Yeah, the Berbers ran that trade. You trying to get through the desert, them the people you got to see.
Gotta come see them.
Yeah,
We want safe passage. I think you got another one in here that says
oh yeah.
Columbus said the first thing he saw when he came here was a Muslim mosque. That sounds too though.
It is. I heard it before. It is. It is pseudo, but he did say that though.
A Muslim mosque on Indian land. I'm talking about Native American Indian.
Right.
I don't see that one. I need some more proof. I don't care if Leroy told Jimmy about it. I want to see some proof.
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't know that story at all.
A mosque,
Yeah.
that would be the oldest mosque in the Americas. I need to see that one.
Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can find something.
Well, see, he says this is a two-part question. He said, was that the Moors, and if so, what happened to the Moors that came here? That's a good question because we was having a discussion just amongst ourselves about were Moors here? Did the Moors know how to get over here? So I don't know. I feel like they did, but I don't know if they had a whole mosque built though. That's reaching. What y'all think?
I haven't heard
No,
that.
I don't believe it. Let me see.
That's reaching.
BBC News article. See what they say. Muslims founded Americas before Columbus, says dude from Turkey.
I know this. I've seen an argument. I might have the words wrong, but I've read so much stuff, y'all. I'll be forgetting stuff. I believe Columbus, when he first encountered the natives of this land, as they was using the word that would have been, what we call Cuba today, possibly was getting mixed up with Comprendre, and Columbus was thinking that he was chasing down one of his friends that he was trying to find, as they was pointing towards a different island. I've seen that argument and some wordplay, things like that, but I've never seen anything about a mosque being here at all. Haven't seen that one at all. That would be new.
You gotta find it. Because it say no Islamic structures have been found in America that predate Columbus.
I know there was a
I like to see it.
there was a college. I don't know if this was a real article because it disappeared. There was a college that said they found a pottery shard on the eastern coast of the Americas in the United States. I think it was Rhode Island, a Rhode Island university that found it, saying they found the pottery with some Islamic text in it dating back to the 7th century here in the States. But that disappeared, and that might have been fake. But I've never seen anything about a mosque at all. And just because they said that's where the text comes from, don't mean that's the origins of that pottery even being there, that this could have been trade stuff and all that as well.
Yeah, so it is no evidence for that.
Let me see if I can find that story.
Yeah, we appreciate your questions. These good questions. These good questions. 'Cause as you see, we some of the stuff we looking into on the spot. Like, hey, we gonna as I learn, you learn. You know, we gonna some of the stuff we gonna look at it right with you. It's good everybody hearing these stories though, so we ain't crazy. The stories is out here, man. You gotta
Yeah,
fact
yeah,
check.
I've heard that one before. So that's one that always be used.
Hey, you gotta fact check them, man.
All right, what's the other question? The Morocco and the U.S. treaty was it signed because the Moors kept taking over their shipment coming to the U.S.? I have no clue.
Is that another question?
Yeah, it said the Morocco and the U.S. treaty was it signed because the Moors kept taking over their shipment coming to the U.S.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
They got rid of that treaty real quick.
Oh, it's over already?
I believe so. I've heard of that treaty.
Let me try to see if I can look at that.
Yeah, a lot of people try to use that treaty some type of validation. All that goes to show is that's just another documented history where you made a deal with a European and they hit you with no Vaseline.
Relations were formalized. The relations were formalized with the Moroccan-American Treaty of Friendship, also known as the Treaty of Marrakesh, negotiated by Thomas Barclay in Marrakesh and signed by American diplomats in Europe, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, with Sultan Muhammad III in 1786. Muhammad III, or Sidi Muhammad ibn Abdullah, came to power in 1757 and ruled until his death in 1790. Prior to his reign, Morocco had experienced 30 years of internecine battles, instability, and turmoil. During the 33 years Sidi Mohammed ruled, he transported the politics, the economy, and the society, putting development of international trade high on his agenda and restoring power to the Sultanate. This served quickly this served to quickly bring respect to Morocco on the international scene. Central to his pursuit of the international trade was the negotiation of agreements with foreign commercial powers. He began seeking one with the U.S. before the war with Great Britain was settled in 1783 and welcomed Thomas Barclay's arrival to negotiate in 1786. The treaty was signed by Barclay and the Sultan, then by Jefferson and Adams, was ratified by the Confederation Congress in July 1787. It was reaffirmed by the Sultanate in 1803 when the USS Constitution, whatever that is, New York, Adams, engaged in gunboat diplomacy as part of the First Barbary War. At the time, independent corsairs and pirates were using Morocco's ports as safe harbors between raids on America and European shipping. The treaty has withstood transatlantic stress and strains in strains for more than 232 years, making it the longest unbroken relationship in United States history. So apparently they still got it.
Well, what's the point of bringing the
Okay.
treaty up? Like,
I don't
what's
know.
the point? What are they proving with it?
Well, he was asking what was the reason for it. He was asking did the U.S. sign it basically to keep the Moors from taking U.S. shipments.
Mm,
Well, I have
exactly.
no clue, homie.
Well, there's a lot of, that goes all into piracy and all that as well, and the formation of these nationalities as we see it today. You gotta remember that time frame, if you go back and look at Jefferson, they not identifying as Americans yet. They still loyal to where? They still want to be under the British or French or they mother countries as they call it, or father forelands and all that other nonsense. So to even bring it up in such a conversation, those treaties at the moment, I don't see what they prove um, as far as racial identities and things of that nature. Yeah, you're going to see those types of treaties because you got international trade and commerce and piracy going on, and declarations of war going on in the pursuit of that to maintain that power in those economic strongholds. So to see alliances and all that, yeah, you're gonna see those, but we have to be mindful of where we stood in those political fiascos of the time. For example, what was that, the 17, 1800s? At the time, we might be making alliances with Spain to get freedom, thinking, that's going to get us out of shackles, and making alliance with Britain at the time, thinking that's going to get us out of shackles. The Americans, uh, for example, who joined the British Navy, thinking that was going to get them to freedom. You'll see those things take place throughout this endeavor, and it just stays consistent. That's why we have to watch these patterns and do this investigation. We have to get too far off track in the pacification process of all this. So we got a lot of work to do, Jeremy, if we're gonna do that stuff. But it's not impossible because so much of it has already been done for us. A lot of our ancestors did document these things and made their presence known, so we don't forget who we are. I won't get too long-winded, but yeah, you'll see those types of treaties. If you look at what is it, the Virginia Codes, one of the early um, numbers in between 1 and 13, you'll see that they made it a point to say that Moors wouldn't be enslaved. But that doesn't negate the fact that it specifically says Negroes will. And they knew exactly who they was talking about. They was talking about us. Now, did they have a small population and have to make acknowledgement towards free Africans and free Negroes? Yeah. But they did their best to use they systematic structures, as we seem to make that minute, especially in the educational process. So we have to be careful when we go digging because we're gonna find stuff that we want to find. But you got to look at the totality of everything in those time frames and kind of weigh it out with what you see in you and live in time and how people operate. And it gets easier and easier as you do it. Or you can do like the Kofi Piesie Research Team, build some brothers that will help you along the way and learn as we all learn.
Yeah, so you got another question. I think this is gonna be the last question, and I'm gonna get on about it. You said why hasn't the Moors and the NOI joined together both of you, all religion is Islam. I don't really think the Moors are practicing Islam. I mean, if you want to say that, you can, but when you look at Islam, that's not Islam. You know what I mean? That's like what it really is. What they practice is, and that science is Hinduism. I'll let go back to Hinduism. You hear them talking about chakras, crystals. You hear them talking about
Yeah, we broke that down earlier. We tied it in the matter of Boboski.
right.
We tied it in. That's the Turks and all that stuff.
Yeah, so they get a lot of their information from these occult systems,
Right.
and why is like modify Islam to fit black people. I'm assuming. I'm not big on the NOI though, so I don't really be knowing half the stuff they be, what they preach or what they talk about. I don't really know too much about that, but I know the Moors that ain't Islam. They just use words like Islam or Allah, but that ain't. When you look at Islam and where it came from, they don't use that nothing like that. What they use ain't nothing like that.
And a lot of Moors, they say they universal Moors. So you know when they saying universal, they saying they study all that stuff from Kemet to so when you talking about these Moors today, I don't think they they don't practice Islam like that. But like Sutek said, they use the verbiage.
Right.
Yeah, they use the verbiage, but they not they not. I don't know if they versed in 120. You know what I'm saying? Like, do they know the lessons off the top of their head? Like, you know, like the Islam brothers? I don't think so. It's
Yeah.
some out there that probably do, but you know, it's different. It's just different.
Yeah, they talking about higher self and lower self. I mean, that's universal, but that verbiage that comes from Hinduism. Like, yeah, it all go back to that. They're using these occult systems, and these occult systems is combining all types of religious practices and conceptions from everywhere. And half the time, they don't even be right.
And you got to think too. When the Nation of Islam, they got introduced by Elijah Muhammad. His teacher was Farah Muhammad. Noble Drew Ali is the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America over here. You know what I'm saying? So they foundations are different.
Yeah, fact. That's a good point.
Their foundations are different. So I don't see them joining forces based off that.
Right. And we ain't necessarily got to join forces as far as like religious wise or organization wise. Like, as long as we know who we are, we know we the same people. We come together the way that we supposed to, then shit, they can be Moors. They can be Moors on their own. NOI could be on their own. Other people could be on their own. Long as we come together the way that we supposed to. Community economics, stuff like caring about each other. You know what I mean? Like coming together when it's injustices against any of us. I don't care if you are Moor, you claim to be Hebrew, or whatever. If you black, or if you African American, or whatever you want to call yourself. If you like me, then I'm riding with you.
I like the fact that through all other groups, I've heard the Moors have a more consistent, whether I agree with it or not, dialogue pertaining to law than any other group. I like that about them. Whether or not they are correct or not, I like the idea that you are creating an atmosphere where Black people pursue studying law. Um, I might get beat up by the brothers for making a comment like that, but I do think that's dope and I think that's needed. So if we can get people studying law, I'm all for that, especially things when we hear some of the things they say. I dislike sovereignty. I think that is something that we should have on the table as Black people. I don't think we should falsify it though, as Black people. But the conversation should be had. I won't take that away.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. We should study law. We should practice anything that's beneficial to us. So I agree, man. I ain't against that. Like you said though, we can't falsify it. Like black is dead. It said in the it said in the law book, so you lose your rights if you like. Come on, bro. We ain't got to go that far.
Right.
But yeah, we should definitely study law. But man, we get on up out of here, man. I'm finna let y'all sign off. I ain't ate nothing all day. I need to eat something.
All right, brothers. It was a good bill. Appreciate the audience interaction too. It was good questions.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we gonna have to do this more often, man. This cool little deal.
Yeah. Well, what y'all doing tomorrow? Tomorrow Friday, right?
Yeah, shit. I might be free tomorrow.
Y'all want to do a Friday night just freestyle? The brothers push the book as well. I'm steadfast that it's about time that we have an open conversation about book one anyway. We can squeeze it in. I mean, I don't see why we can't push it that way.
Yeah, we can figure that out.
Chapter by chapter, and just push the book. Not even for money or anything like that for the audience. We just want y'all to have the information and get to know these brothers because they did a beautiful job. That's how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, we can figure that out. We can figure that out. Shit, we'll rap about it in the back chat.
Right, right.
Yeah, appreciate it. Everybody that came on, all 500 people. Yeah, we'll try to do this tomorrow if all of us are free. 'Cause I need more content. I need to start doing more stuff, pouring more stuff up on this channel, man. But yeah, man, we appreciate it, bro. We out. Peace.